Hey folks, and how are you doing today? Now, welcome to this very special live today where I'm going to be talking about the 10 ways to save time when you have a podcast. Now, this is going live on a number of different platforms. So, whether you're watching, if you're watching live or on the replay, thank you very, very much for joining us. And just to let you know, this is going to be streamed on Facebook, on our page, in our group on Facebook, on my LinkedIn profile. But also on YouTube and also Twitter as well. So if you aren't following us on those platforms, please check us out. We're going to deliver you content like this every week for you throughout 2023. And today, what a better way of starting than talking about the 10 ways to save time when you have a podcast. Because as we all know, people who have got podcasts are master multitaskers. There's so many jobs that you can do when it comes to producing and having your own podcast, or hell, going on to podcasts as well is a skill in itself. So these are 10 ways that a lot of my clients kind of say to me, Gary, how can I kind of help? How can I cut down time to producing the podcast? Because we all know it takes a bit of time to create a podcast. So these are just 10 simple ways that you can start doing. Okay. And because there's so many factors in, I would love to hear from you in the comments what ways you save your time on podcasting. And these aren't the definite, the defiant list. These are just a few ideas that I want to share with you today. So to start off with, and I can see the postman coming in a second, so I might need to go away and come back again. This could be interesting. It is. This could be interesting, but this is also the beauty of working from home. So the first way is plan out your episodes in advance. Told you, there's a poster. Is plan out your episodes in advance. Now, this is a great way because this is going to help you stay organized, avoid the last minute scramble for you to come up with content and also guests. And I can see my dog's got a bill, but he's leaving it alone, so that's fine. But plan your podcasts out in advance. Now, planning out in advance, I've just done live in another group actually, all about planning your content out and making sure you've got enough content, enough energy to be able to produce your podcast. But if you plan your episodes out in advance, what that means is that you're going to have a plan. And a plan is so important when it comes to podcasting because you're going to know what resources you're going to need to fulfill those particular things. But also by having a plan, planning your episodes out in advance, you know that let's say you plan it out until March or April. We're now in January if you're watching this afterwards. But if you plan it out for the next 3 months and you're going to wait in February or at the start of March, you know that you need to get ahead of yourself in terms of creating content to fulfill that gap. You know that now in January rather than, 2 days before you go away thinking, crap, I haven't got a podcast to release next week. It just makes it so much easier. So plan your content out in advance because that way, you're going to know, and you're going to know what resources you've got, but also you're going to know what you need to catch up on. But really good way of doing it. Also, by working out your episodes in advance, and if you're talking on other podcasts as well, you can release those podcasts with the obviously podcast permission, but release those on yours as well at the same time. But honestly, plan your schedules, episodes out in advance. It will help you stay organized. Next up is to use a podcast hosting platform that allows you to schedule episodes in advance. This will also allow you to set up your episodes and have them automatically released on a designated time and date. Now, this is quite a straightforward thing which most podcasting hosts will be able to deliver. But I'm big fan of bulk recording content. Big fan of bulk recording content because that way I know that after maybe 2 episodes, after the first episode, certainly, I'm in my flow. I'm in my flow. That's why I did a live before this one because I wanted this one to be absolutely kick-ass. I'm in my flow because I've already practiced, I'm already warmed up. So when it comes to bulk recording, this really helps because again, it goes back to time and energy. You know how much time and energy you've got. And if you've got a day where you're recording loads of content and then you're releasing it, you want your podcast hosting company site to be able to then schedule in your content. So therefore, you don't have to worry about pressing go live or press send or published on that particular day. And I always do this. I'm normally 3 or 4 podcasts ahead of myself in terms of my clients and myself. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's a bit more, but I try to do a kind of a 3 to 4 kind of little bit if I can. That's kind of how it is. But bulk recording really will save you time and energy. But make sure that your podcast hosting company can then publish that content for you. Again, saves you so much time. Next up, utilize transcription services. Now, transcription services, even though I can't say it, helps you to be able to then quickly transcribe your podcast episodes into written content for blog, social media updates. So, using these tools means that you don't have to physically go through and write every single bit of it. Simple one that I use, and some podcasting hosts actually do this for you as well, and some other kind of other people, companies you do this as well. Good one that I use is rev.com, but there are loads of places that use AI to be able to do this, and you get a transcription within minutes and even within seconds. Sometimes it's crazy, but using transcription services means that you can literally go through, put it as a blog for the people who want to read it. Hey, you could also turn it into an ebook if you've got enough of them. So again, another way of you reusing your content. But also what you can do is you can pick out key phrases and you can use those as social media posts. And if you've got a weekly podcast, for instance, or a fortnightly podcast, or a monthly podcast, and actually you want a piece of content that goes out every week, why not? That's my alarm. Why not separate those social media quotes and schedule them in every week? So therefore, even if you've got a monthly podcast, you've got a bit about your podcast going out each week. And you can do that if you've got a weekly podcast, you do it daily, whatever the frequency is up to you. But using transcription service to then create your social media content, it's golden. It's absolutely golden. It's what I always say to people is that you're creating one idea, and this idea in this case is the podcast, and you're seeing how much piece of content you can create from that one idea. Really useful service, saves you a hell of a lot of time. Next up is use a podcast editing software. Now, this is going to allow you to easily edit and splice together your audio files, saving you time and manual editing. Now, when it comes to podcast editing services, there are ways that you can do it manually, but there are systems now which you can use that use AI, which can cut out all background noise, you can take out your ums and ahs. And when it comes to editing, I think the trick for editing, for me anyway, is it shouldn't sound like it's being edited. If you've got a podcast that sounds like it's been edited, that's been edited too far. You want it to feel like a natural conversation. So sometimes manual editing really does work. Sometimes automated editing works. Just be careful with some of the AI tools, because if you're cutting out all background frequencies, sometimes it can take away some of the start and the ends of the words that people are saying. So be careful with that. Please be careful with that. But using an automated way of doing it, or using editing software to be able to do it, it's a great way of doing it. And there's loads out there. The best thing to do is kind of experiment, ask other people, and go from there. And if you're using video, you might just be able to take the audio from the video, save you time. If you're just doing audio, again, you don't have to worry about the video. There's so much things to consider with podcast editing software, and I'll do a live about that at another time on another day, because that is a huge topic. Huge topic. Next up, you can collaborate with other podcasts. Now, as I mentioned before, if you've been on a podcast, you can always see if that podcaster would allow you to share that recording onto your one. But by collaborating with other podcasters, it will help share the workload and bring in new listeners. So why don't you do joint episodes? Joint episodes are quite a cool idea where you get to host. You can have a podcast takeover for a week or a month. But the main thing is to get other people along with it, other collaborators, other podcasters. Because if you can record a podcast and that can be shared with someone, and then someone else can share that same content, that's a win-win. It'll get you in front of new audiences. It will get them in front of new audiences. And to be fair, it's also good fun as well, because you might be asking things about the same kind of industry, but taking it from all different points of views. So really figure that out and take a look at collaborating with other podcasters. Works really, really well. And I must admit, when I go onto a podcast, I do tend to ask, and they tend to ask as well, or just say, Gary, you can use this on your podcast as well, just repurpose it. It's like golden. Yeah, we'll throw it out. So some of my podcast episodes that for my podcast, The Grow Show, will have repurposed content from other podcasts that I've been on. Why not? Why not? It works. It works. But repurpose that kind of content as well. So collaborate, great. And even if it's not the whole episode, see if he doesn't mind just taking that. See if they don't mind taking out a 5-minute or 10-minute gap slice and then promoting that. So it almost becomes a teaser episode for their episode. Not many podcasters will say no to that, but that's another way of doing it. Now, if you're just joining us live, I'm just talking about the 10 ways that you can save time when you have a podcast. And I'm just going to quickly recap on the first 4, which we've been talking about. Please, if you want to go back, you can check it out. But planning your episodes out in advance was number 1. Use a podcast hosting platform that allows you to schedule the episodes in advance. Utilize transcription services. And number 4 was use podcast editing software. We're just at the halfway point. So we've just come to point 5, which is all about collaborating with other podcasters. Now, if you're watching this on the replay or watching us live, put into the chat at any time tips that you've got to save time with your podcast. How are you saving time? Are you automating any stuff? We'll go into that in a bit. Are you planning your episodes out in advance? Let us know what you do in the comments. Let's share the love, and really we can use this as a good sounding board and a good resource for all the people who want to start a podcast, but they don't know how to because they think it's going to take too much time. We might be able to cut a bit more time out by this list and by your comments. So number 6 is use a template for your show notes. Now, this is going to save time on formatting each episode's show notes. Now, I'm going to take this one step further just for you guys here and say you can use a template for pretty much every part of your podcast. Now, what I mean by that is your show notes is just one area where you can template, and that's golden to be able to do it. But why don't you template the questions that you send through to your guests? Why don't you template the emails that you send out as after the episode that shares links with guests and the supporters and that kind of stuff? Why don't you create a template for your newsletters? Can you see where I'm going with this? The more templates you've got, the less time you need to worry about creating something new all the time, where people just want the information. So start creating templates for those 4 bits. Templates for your show notes. Templates for the people who are being guests on your shows, for the questions that they're going to ask. For those same guests, send them links and how they can find more information about the show afterwards so they can share it, and also your newsletters and your social content. Why not? Template it will just make it a lot easier, and actually will probably just help you in the long run as well, because once you've got that template, you can just tweak it. You're not reinventing the wheel all of the time. So yeah, template that stuff will save you time. Next up, you can outsource the tasks which take you a lot of time. Now, these could include creating graphics for social media, editing audio files, and all that kind of jazz. Now, when it comes to outsourcing, you've got to make sure that you're, first of all, happy with the level of outsourcing that you've got. Now, everyone has got different levels in terms of their confidence or ability to delegate tasks, shall we say. Some people like to do it all. Some people like just to put it onto the other people because, do you know what, they're specialists and I'm not. I sit kind of in the middle on it. If I'm delegating a task, I like to make sure the task is done well. So therefore, I need a basic understanding of what that task is. That's just my personal opinion. But what some people like to do is literally just outsource everything. So I've got some clients who literally jump onto Zoom or jump on the interview platform that they're doing it, or in person. They record the content, send it to me, and they don't touch it afterwards. I do the editing, do the show notes, and all that kind of stuff. And that's fine. That's good for them. But I've got other people who want to take little bits and just want me to kind of really stand with them and just help them, support them. So for outsourcing, you've got to make sure that you know your level and you know kind of what you're doing. For me, I would recommend outsourcing graphics. I'd recommend outsourcing the transcriptions. I'd recommend outsourcing the blog writing. I'd recommend outsourcing the editing. I would recommend outsourcing the guest management before and after. Those bits I would recommend you doing, because at least that way you can use other people's skills like VAs, like podcast editors and producers to be able to do that. And they'll be able to save you time by you not worrying about it. So recommend those ones there. The other ones, it's up to you. But outsourcing is a great way of really kind of saving you time, because obviously you're not doing it. You're not doing it. Point 8 is use automation tools for social media promotion. This allows you to schedule your posts updates in advance, save you time on manual posting. It goes on to the point that I was saying beforehand. If we're looking at if we're looking at scheduling, planning your episodes in advance, then we're looking at actually releasing your episodes while scheduling your episodes in advance. Then why don't you schedule your social media as well? It makes sense. You've got the tools now to be able to make social media posts like that. You got the transcription service that we've mentioned about that you can take quotes from. You can create little mini videos that you can use to promote your show using the guests and the content there. If you haven't got video, you can create an audiogram, so therefore they can have the sound wave going across the page. You know what I mean? If you don't, let us know and I'll show you. But it's loads of different ways you can use social media to do that. And with social media, for me, I much prefer to schedule all my content than spend all my time talking. I just want to repeat that. I want to schedule all my content and spend all my time talking. And what I mean by that is that when it comes to social media, we all know that the beauty is that beauty comes when we're talking to people. So it's conversations that we have. It's not the scheduled post that goes out. So schedule your posts at times when your audience is going to be online, but then spend the rest of the time talking. Like, comment, share the content that other people are creating. That's going to give you a lot more wins. But yeah, schedule your content. It's such a good way. But if you're planning your episodes out in advance, you've got them all linked up, so therefore you know they're all in a queue ready to go on the dates that you've scheduled them in to the hosting site. Schedule your social media. It makes so much sense. Number 9, as I've already mentioned, I'm a big fan of bulk recording. So number 9 is record multiple episodes at once. Now, this is going to allow you to batch record your content, saving you time in setting up, tearing down, recording, shooting, that kind of stuff. Because, again, we know that as I said before, when you bulk record, one of the benefits is that you get in the flow. So therefore, you know what you're talking about, you're warmed up and you're ready to go. But also, it takes time to set stuff up. Now, I'm doing this video from home, so I've got a very simple setup with a webcam, microphone, laptop plugged in, all that jazz. It will take me 5 minutes to pack down, not even that. But if I was in a full-blown studio to power stuff up, power stuff down, you're looking at maybe 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, all that. And then you've got the uploading to your laptop or your device. It takes time. So by bulk timing as well, it means that actually, not only is it better for you as a presenter or maybe a guest if you bulk recording those, but presenter more, but also you don't have to worry about the equipment. What it also does as well is it helps with your diary management as well. Because what you can then do is you can just block out a certain amount of time, be it 2 hours, 3 hours, and you can say, okay, I'm going to record 3 or 4 episodes in that time. Now, please beg your pardon. I've just got someone at the door, so I will be back in just a second. I won't be long. Beauty of live recording, isn't it? That's beautiful. Pet delivery for food. That's golden. So sorry about that. So bulk recording also means that people know, and this is just so funny because I was going to say that people know when not to disturb you. But obviously you can't control all variables at all. So by planning, record multiple episodes at once. This will allow you to batch record your sessions, but also it will manage it will help you manage your diary as well. What a great point to get disturbed at. I love that. I'm going to keep that in for people who are watching the replay. I'm going to keep that in for you, as a little treat for you, just to show that nothing is perfect, but Another point, sometimes done is better than perfect. That was number 9. Number 10, nice and straightforward, nice one to finish off with, is have a clear goal focus for your podcast. Now, this is going to help you stay on track, avoid wasting time on tangents or unnecessary content. So, we all know that we're really good at diverting off in loads of different sections. But actually, when you've got a clear goal, you know what you want to talk about, you know what aims you want to go for, hell, you know what time you've got even to record something in, then actually that makes it so much easier. It gives you more focus and more energy to go, okay, for the next half hour, I'm going to talk about this with this person. Whoosh! So much easier. So have a clear goal of focus. If you haven't, do you know what? A half-hour conversation could easily turn to 1.5 hours without even realizing it. And as a podcast listener, you can tell those episodes. You can tell when there's not a clear goal or idea been thrown in. So have a clear goal. And just on that last note as well, have a clear goal focus for your podcast. Not just per episode, but as a podcast as a whole. But have a clear goal in your podcast about what you want your podcast to achieve over the next year, 3 years, 5 years. How does it help your community? How does it give value to your listeners? Work those out first, and you'll save so much time later. So, I've been talking for about 20 minutes, 21 minutes or so, and I'm just going to quickly recap on the 10 ways to save you time when you've got a podcast. Now, these are all available on our blog on the website. So, if you go to Grow Radio, there'll be a link under the latest news with podcast blogs, but I'm going to be putting all of those into the main company, which is growmarketingmedia.com. So if you go to growmarketingandmedia.com, you will be able to find this blog. But this 10 points, nice and straightforward, and they are in no particular order, but I'll go from number 1. Plan out your episodes in advance. Use your podcast hosting platform that allows you to schedule the episodes in advance. Utilize transcription services. Use podcast editing software. Collaborate with other podcasters. Use templates for your podcast show notes, but also use templates for whatever stuff you can use. Outsource your tasks to take a lot of your time. Use automation tools for social media promotion. Record multiple episodes at once, and to have a clear goal of focus for your podcast. Now, I've been Gary Jones, and this has been a live about the 10 ways that you can save time when you've got a podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm going to bring out content like this every week from now on for the rest of the year. So I hope you enjoy it. Please join us live for the next one, which will be on Wednesday of next week, and I'll release the details on the topics and that kind of stuff later. But you can watch this on Facebook, in the page, or on the group, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and anywhere else where I can post a link to it. Take care, friends. Thank you very much for joining us. And please, if you've enjoyed this, or if you've got any ways that you can save time that you've used in the past to save time, please put them into the comments below. Take care, folks. I'll see you soon. Gary out. Bye-bye.